after a turbulent day for Asian markets yesterday because of the uncertainty around the tariffs, we saw reassuringly today there was some relief as most indices staged a recovery. And to understand how Asian markets performed and where negotiations with the US currently stand, I'm going to turn to my colleague Mallica. Mallica, before diving into the market movements, we're seeing a strong and a defiant response from Beijing on Trump's latest tariff threats, because China now labeling it a mistake on top of a mistake, signaling its very firm stance. But over to you for the latest updates.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Sanjana. And of course, Asian markets across various regions in this continent have recovered from the kind of pain that we saw yesterday. But before I give you the picture, I'd like to take you through just a comparison of how Hang Seng performed yesterday. It dipped close to 13.22%, which was one of the sharpest falls that the index experienced in a long time, as compared to today, where it did recover. And as you were rightly mentioning, that China has called this move a mistake on a mistake, because China, in fact, has decried Trump's tariffs as a blackmail, and that's a headline. And this is because, mind you, when US imposed 34% tariffs on Chinese Chinese exports, China retaliated back and said, we're going to impose the same amount of tariffs, 34%. And to that, US said that, no, if you do that, we're going to impose further 50% tariffs. And that is what China felt is a blackmail. In fact, US has given China 24 hours to take back its retaliatory measures. In fact, the statement by the Chinese Commerce Ministry exactly says that the US threat to escalate tariffs against China is a mistake on top of a mistake, which once again exposes the US's blackmailing nature. Now let's shift focus to how Japan performed. Yesterday also Japan, as you may see on the next screen, Japan sank close to 7.83%, but now today it recovered. So almost you can see the recovery, and it has recovered early morning in trade and has been maintaining that kind of recuperation that we saw in the index, Nikkei 225. And in fact, last night we also broke the story where Japan and US had a phone call to negotiate these tariffs, and this comes after Japan voiced serious concerns on the impact of tariffs on Japan's business, especially auto, because Japan now stands at 25%. Japan now currently faces 25% tariffs on auto imports, on top of the 24% reciprocal tariffs that were imposed by Donald Trump's administration on the country. Speaking of how India performed today, the Nifty and the Sensex also rose in trade. As you see, as compared to its global peers already, we did see a comparatively lesser pressure. We sank close to 3.9% yesterday, but today we have recovered. It's not been a bad day as compared to how yesterday fared. Sensex also recovered, the 30-pack Sensex, and the Nifty did well as well. And plus, India has been keeping its cool, because we're hell-bent on finalizing our bilateral trade agreement very, very soon. In fact, we're expecting the first leg of talks to conclude by November. And India's move will be more balanced in long term, and it is not going to join any other country, like how we're seeing China retaliate. Canada is also sort of against this. India does not want to retaliate. It is hell-bent on negotiating. And quickly, as you may have heard experts just before this talk about how India could be a beneficiary from this situation, there are 3 pointers that I feel are conclusive to why India is in a better position. Firstly, less trade exposure to the US as compared to our peers. Like China has larger exposure to the US, our trade exposure to the US is relatively less. We have a strong economy, and also it does not want to retaliate. So these are the reasons why India is in a better position as compared to its peers.